What? How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I've my dog is going to have to go through surgery tomorrow for a torn
Oh,
ACL.
Ugh.
So,
that sucks. Shit, let me close that.
Maybe your dog can get Aaron Rodgers, doctor.
well, I'll tell you, the surgery is expensive
Yeah.
Yeah, say no, those
if
such a
you've
thing as
never had
insurance.
this done on a dog. We replaced my wife's knee cheaper.
Yeah.
Animals, they don't make that easy or cheap. All right, looks like we're live.
Yep. Leo, you're not. This is not kitty time. This is showtime.
So I'll give you another. Want to give you another plug on your podcast, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll talk about that.
Mhm.
There's a Vision Pro story. We'll definitely hit you on.
Yep. Also known as the quarterly results.
Yep, that too. I always love that. It always
Yeah,
happens
well,
on recording day.
the Vision Pro stories that are happening now are like there's a big Washington Post story written by their media specialist saying, "I don't get it. It's no good. It doesn't work for me." And then, a couple of the supply chain people saying, "Oh, it's not." They're giving up on it because the supply chain numbers have changed. They really hadn't. So,
I keep saying that this is a publicly available prototype.
yeah.
Yeah, this isn't for the end user. It's for the people who make stuff for the end user.
Yeah. This article's about the enterprise,
Yeah.
so it'll be
Yeah.
good. Oh,
Jeffer Prize, show up.
still got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah. See what we need to have is like a teapot just dangling there for him.
Yeah. Oh, what's been going on? It's been a long week.
Finals week.
Oh.
I fly to Washington on Monday, come back on Tuesday. Then it's graduation with my son on Thursday. Relatives here through Sunday, so
Nice.
crazy.
It's good to get you on this week.
Oh, I'd do it next week anyways if you want. Actually, no. That's the night my son is crossing the stage to get hooded for his
Yeah, I was gonna
PhD.
say,
So I think I
you better
wouldn't.
take care of that.
Yeah, my brain is still in film festival mode.
I said you were having a lot of fun there. I saw.
Yes, I was.
You were in Galena. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I hosted at the DeSoto House for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yep. One of the showings, we had so many people there that I had to steal from the other meeting rooms, the chairs, and sit out in the hall.
Nice.
So when you say film festival, what was going on? What kind of movies? What kind of things? Or what kind of films?
It's an independent film festival.
Festival. Okay.
Think Sundance, but smaller scale.
Yeah. We have one in Kent, but no, I wouldn't even compare it to Sundance, even at a smaller scale. But the Standing Rock is what they call it because we have a part of the river here that has a standing rock in it. So it's a Standing Rock Film Festival.
Yeah, we're on the top 25 list.
Yeah.
Nice. People coming in from all over the country, right?
All over the world.
Nice.
Well, Galena's a pretty cool place too, I would think.
Yeah,
It is.
Well, I mean, Galena was the pre-event.
Mhm.
It's a Jillian Dubuque International Film Fest.
Ah, okay.
So basically, we had all the Galena people who did not want to trek 15 miles, 15 minutes across the river.
I say it's like hop, skip, and a jump across the river.
Yeah, I got home in less than 15 minutes every night.
It's like crossing states.
Yep. Then yeah, I rather liked Galena because I had to get I had the opportunity to get my favorite fast food joints, Culver's, on the festival for 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Galena, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
yep.
Yeah, you
They have
can
a Culver's and a McDonald's. Yeah, guess which one I never went to.
McDonald's.
Yeah. Plus, I had a coupon for a free concrete mixer.
There you go. Oh, but you can frequent that. It's only 15-minute ride.
Oh yeah. The funny thing is, the Dubuque, for some reason they only have one Dubuque Culver's. It is so busy
Oh, yeah.
that I just go over to Galena anyway.
Yeah,
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
Dave, don't they have a Culver's in Woodstock? Because I think I remember
They
being
may
around
not.
one at
Either
the
Woodstock or
Stock.
probably Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're all over Illinois, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It's from
Oh, yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Eclair.
Oh, why does it do that? Well, Jeff has links. It's not like him to be this late.
Honestly, I almost forgot about tonight.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. I saw you posting social media a little
That
bit
helped.
earlier in advance. I'm like, oh, time to get ready.
I was given a final exam tonight. So while they were all sitting writing the exam, I was looking at the articles.
Yeah, I'm gonna be slightly less prepared than usual.
Okay. You're always good. I just texted him. Somebody in the chat. 3 of us. Oh, he doesn't have the links. Yeah. Oh, there's that. That would do it. See where you get the links from here nowadays with this stupid thing. I changed it. There it is. Do. Did email it. There he is.
So, guys, on our plan to keep Jeff out of tonight's show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it failed. It
got buried in your email.
It's not buried. It's a bug in what I'm testing where for some reason invites that are sent through Google show up, but there's like this completely unusable attachment and a blank message.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
I
Yeah,
reached
so in
out
other
to-
words, don't use betas for mission critical systems.
Uh, words I live by, except in this case, where mail is so broken that I can't use it in mission critical situations.
Hmm.
Like it actually physically crashes. Yeah, I just can't make it work anymore.
I did reach
So
out
weird.
to Rogue Amoeba about my problem, and they said the virtual microphones from Camo might be causing it, so I dumped it.
Ah,
So there's no virtual devices in here, so hopefully that will not be a problem.
do you mind sharing the show notes link?
I did in your text.
Did you?
I'll share it here
I'll
now.
put it
Oh,
in
you
the chat
did.
here.
It's right there. It's totally right there, right in front of me, right where it's supposed to be. Just
Ooh,
like
yeah.
that.
Just like that. Okay, let me start the hijack of audio. All right, you guys sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're good there.
Yep.
Let's do this. All right, I'm ready. You guys ready?
Yep.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 304 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I'm welcoming back Marty Jensius to the show. How you doing, Marty? Thanks for being here.
I great. I love coming back and love being on the show. And it's just lots of things happening like at this
Oh my
time of
gosh.
year.
Always is.
Lots of things happening.
I thought I had nothing, but I have a lot now.
Yeah.
So, and also Ben Rathix here. How you doing, Ben? Welcome
I
back.
am fantastic. I am fully refreshed from a week of film festing.
Yes, you were festing.
That's so awesome.
And Jeff Gammett is also here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm just a hot mess. No, I'm doing fine.
I was about to say that was Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just goes without saying. No, I'm happy to be here, and it's awesome to get to hang out with all of you.
Yes, it is. So, as it always happens, Apple does its earnings results and announces them on the day of our recording, which is Thursday. So, we'll be talking about that. And got some interesting, there's been some interesting press about GM and Apple CarPlay, which we've covered plenty of times about how ridiculous it is. So, we might talk a little bit about some event predictions, and there's some good, decent news this week. But we'll start in the topics like we always do. In Apple's getting active with beta. They've released beta 4 of iOS 17.5, iPadOS 17.5 to both developers and the public beta. Same basic stuff. They really haven't talked about other than some European Union stuff, any updates, those kind of things. There are all kinds of other crazy things that they're not even talking about. But how's it been looking for you, Ben, with you running beta?
Been looking pretty good for me.
Yeah.
It looks like with both the event next week and the build ending with an A, we should be seeing a release candidate relatively quickly here.
Yeah, I would think, because we anticipate iPads, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. How about you, Marty? Is beta we're doing okay for you?
Beta's working. Yeah, beta's working fine for me on all of the products, except I had to roll it back from my Vision Pro. Well, I mean, I could continue to use it, but I was trying to troubleshoot the fact that I wasn't able to do the spatial FaceTime, and everybody else in the group was able to do it. And one of the differentiating factors was that I was running the beta. So once I rolled that back, it worked, but it could have been a lot of other factors. Who knows? So that's the only one that kind of tripped me up a little bit.
Okay, well, that's to be expected. As professionals as we are, you can definitely roll it back like you just did. Jeff, you running anything on your iPad? You haven't jumped in there again.
I need to make it happen.
Yeah.
No, I'm not running beta on anything right now.
Yep. One thing I will mention about iOS 17.5, they are including a quote unquote repair state option that doesn't require turning off Find My for service. Wow, what a concept. What a hassle that was for me when I had to brought an iPhone in for service. With this, Apple's adding a repair state feature that is designed to allow the iPhone to be sent in for service without deactivating the Find My and activation lock. The fourth beta now has this feature, an option for all devices in Find My, and using it with an iPhone puts the iPhone into its new repair state option. Right now, when you would send an iPhone to be repaired, it would require turning it off, but then that wonderful hassle of the activation lock was on, and you either had to have another device to confirm that it was that you can unlock it, or you had to wait an hour to get that done. And then, because if I remember correctly, when I did that for a phone that I had fixed, that is now my beta device, it was my wife's old phone. They made me go onto a Mac and sign into my iCloud account in Safari to turn off Find My at that point to turn the lock off. So this is a welcome feature, I think, for that issue, and turning off Find My, that is, and you can easily put it in repair mode. And I mean, I don't ever recommend turning Find My off, but I think this is a good option. So what you guys think?
How
Well,
was
I'll go
this
first.
not a
Yeah,
feature when
Day
this
one.
option was created?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, as someone who used to work in customer facing tech support at the Geek Squad,
Yep,
you have no idea how much of a pain in the booty this was.
I agree.
I don't think there's a single person in support or end user who didn't collectively gasp, thank you, God.
Yes, very welcome change for that.
Yeah, from what I could tell, it means that you're not sending a phone that's completely unlocked and that's not floating around the universe for
Right.
people to pick up and take while it's in transport or transit to maybe getting to a repair. It's kind of a nice intermediary step that they put in. It's a little thing,
Right.
but it's a very meaningful
Yeah.
thing.
Like I said, I had firsthand experience with it, so I wish I would have had it at that point. But yeah, great thing that Apple added finally for that. So, I'll just mention real quick. You just mentioned Vision Pro. There was the 1.2 that you had installed, and you had to downgrade. Like you said, Marty, and not much to it other than you had a downgrade, right?
Yeah, yeah. There really wasn't much to it. A little bit more. People are saying the resolution's better. That it's a little bit more snappier. I don't know. That could just be a Hawthorne effect. You know, they got something new, so it's going to look better.
Yep.
But that's what people are saying. But not much discernible. And I rolled from the developer beta just to the standard beta. So
Okay.
you know, that's running fine for me.
Okay, great. And then WatchOS 10.5, nothing to really report there. That's the fourth beta of that. And tvOS, the 17.5, that is out as well. Nothing really to report on that either. So that is beta. We're in like Ben said, I think this is going to get close to being released. I would bet next week or the week after, depending on what the announcements are, which we think are iPads. Yeah, we'll definitely see where that goes. So let's jump into the next topic, which is the Apple's Q2 earnings report. And this was some interesting numbers. We always quote our friend Jason Snell and the great folks over at Six Colors. And he does all those pretty barcodes and charts and all that stuff. Charts, I should say, not codes. They did announce the financial results for the fiscal second quarter of 2024 today as we record, and the company booked 90.8 billion in revenue, which was down 4% versus the year ago quarter, and with 23.6 billion in profit. I mean, that's a pretty nice number. Mac revenue was up a nice hefty 4%, which is pretty impressive for the Mac because it had been down for the last couple quarters. Probably presumably because of the release of the M3 MacBook Air and but which of course we expected revenue on the iPad to crash down to a 5.6 billion, which was a 17% drop, and that's a fully expected since we haven't had a new iPad in 2 years. But services, oh my gosh, there was a new record, $23.9 billion in revenue. It was up 14% year over year. The wearables, home, and accessories categories managed to 7.9 billion, and that was down about 10%. So far, you're still looking at the breakdown. iPhone is still dominant. 51% of all sales from Apple in that quarter for the revenues was for iPhone, and 26% is services. So boy, we keep talking about services here, guys, and it just every quarter it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And I'll be surprised Apple's going to start adding more services at camp on this one. Jeff, I'll start with you. What do you think on these numbers?
These numbers are in line with what I would expect for a Q2. So I'm not seeing any real surprises. I expect that that next quarter we will see better numbers for iPads because we have a keynote event coming in just a couple days, and the whole thing with services. Apple gets it. You can't rely on a single product to carry the company. And that product for a while has been iPhone. So growing services tells me that Apple is doing something right. The decline year over year that we're seeing in revenue, and actually I think it's in profits also.
Yep.
Yeah, it's down a little bit for profits as well. Okay, the Apple haters are going to say this is proof that Apple is failing.
Yeah.
But the reality is Apple's long-term trend just keeps going up. So seeing a year over year relatively minor decline for the amount of money that Apple brings in, I don't see that as a concern.
How about you, Ben? Where do you how do you like these numbers?
I like them a lot. And honestly, they're in line with what I'm seeing. About 20 years ago, Apple was a Mac company. After that, they transitioned to an iPod company, to an iPhone company. And I think we're starting to see that with services starting to be what Apple's bread and butter are going to be going forward. We're getting to the point where, honestly, releasing a new phone isn't going to be as big as it used to be because, this is if I can get that thing to actually focus, but that's a 12 Pro Max, and I'm able to function perfectly with it every day. People are able to keep phones way longer now. We're getting to the point where Apple's platform isn't a specific piece of hardware. It's the services that run on that hardware. Basically where the apps, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus.
Right.
That's where Apple is going to be, and you're going to get a consistent user experience within those services, no matter what device you're on.
For sure. And we'll wrap it up with you, Marty. Where do you think the Apple looks?
I'm not brilliant on numbers, but I'd be curious. You get more people into the ecosystem, they're going to purchase more services. The services aren't necessarily going to dwindle off. So you've got a larger user base accessing more services. So it's nice to know that people are going to be chasing after new iPhones all the time because those are replenished and that's a steady source of income for them. I'm curious about the wearables in terms of, what is or will be the impact of Vision Pro in terms of that as it happens and happens more. So
And then that's the thing too with Vision Pro. The numbers that are here
Right.
are probably really not effective of what Vision Pro sales were, because yeah, it was right towards the end of the first quarter, second quarter. So they probably, I mean, but again, they've been saying with Vision Pro that numbers haven't been that great, but of course, Apple never publicizes how many units they sell and what's going on with that. But that's going to be interesting. Home,
Yeah, numbers
the
aren't that
wearables.
great, but these are a whole, I mean, you look at the total number that were sold and the cost
Sure.
of the devices, it's
Exactly.
it's extra income. It's interesting to
Profitability.
see how that plays out. Yeah.
Profitability. There was some of the notable things that were some takeaways. One of the things is AI, generative AI. Tim Cook did say that they're making significant investments in AI and that they have some very exciting things to share with customers soon. Which what I would say soon means probably next Tuesday for let it loose event. He also went on to say,
WWDC.
or WWC could be the other one too, for sure more in WWC. He also believes that Apple has advantages that will differentiate the company, including Apple's hardware and software integration, Apple Silicon, the neutral engine, and the focus on privacy. They're always talking about all those things. But it says there is a big opportunity for generative AI across all of Apple devices, and Cook said that he is extremely optimistic and about the future consumer demand. I would tend to agree with that. Just my starting of experience working with AI in the business world, I'm really seeing some incredible strides to make things so much more efficient, so much more easier and be efficient. Productivity you're gonna see some improvements with AI and everything else across the Apple ecosystem. Really, I mean, I know Marty, you've been doing a lot of stuff on AI. You did a talk last year on at MacStock. So, what do you think? Where do you think Apple's going to go?
I hope they take all the elements that they have in terms of security, safety, those kind of things that we have as we use Apple devices as trusted, and incorporate that as a wrapper around AI. Instead of it sort of being the wild, wild west of AI, I would like to see Apple kind of close that garden off, have selected and well-defined sources of information versus just the cloud of things that everybody throws into it then becomes real versus not real. I'm really hoping Apple, when Tim Cook talks about big strides in it, that's my imagination saying this is where it's going to go. So we can talk about the M4 chip and whether that's going to be part of that big announcement coming up in the next week or at WWDC. But I think that all is all built into that space.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Jeff? I know you've got some thoughts on this.
Yeah, of course I do. Keep in mind, Apple has been doing a lot under the hood with AI and ML for a long time.
Yes.
So it's not like they're coming into this whole space without any experience. The LLM part or generative AI part, that's new for Apple. And when Tim Cook says that they have their advantages that will differentiate the company, of course they do. Apple controls everything from end to end. That gives them incredible control, of course, but also gives them the ability to really refine what they're doing to fit with the products that they're making. So yeah, I expect that we will see some interesting things come out of this. And while I expect a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is going to just be, we get a version of the S Lady that talks to us like Majel Barrett, as the Star Trek computer voice. Sure, maybe, but I think what Apple is going to do will actually impact people more on a daily use level in more of a transparent way, where the AI tools that they are going to be giving us are going to be designed to kind of transparently work with what we're doing and make that, and I'm very nebulous here, better, because we haven't seen what they're doing, but better.
Your last input on this from you, Ben. What's your thoughts?
I think the one thing that's going to differentiate Apple and AI here is going to be that on-device LLM wrapper.
That makes sense. But also, we just talked about with Vision Pro. The Apple Vision Pro was mentioned during the call. Tim Cook did say that it's really a big hit in the enterprise, and that isn't very surprising because the enterprise is really always looks into these types of things. And Tim did say that over half of the Fortune 100 companies have purchased Vision Pro units, which is pretty impressive there. It's the first spatial computer from Apple that has proven to be a controversial entry in the product lineup. And of course it had, and they've shared very little of what's been selling, as we mentioned. There isn't a line item for the Apple earnings about the Vision Pro, but Tim Cook did share a tidbit of interest, saying that the Vision Pro has been purchased by these companies, and it's it's something definitely interesting that the market has been kind of targeted to see where it goes. Especially the fact that Microsoft's now defunct HoloLens, which was a complete flop, and it's definitely interesting. And then even the CFO, Luca Mastrani, also revealed that Enterprise uses for the Apple Vision Pro, including aircraft engine designers at KLM Airlines, team collaboration at Porsche, and kitchen design at Lowe's. So a lot of good spatial computing on the platform, and you also say $3,500 is, let's face it, it's not for everybody. It was a very niche in its life cycle, but I can ask Marty himself, being a proud Vision Pro owner, where do you think Enterprise is going to go with this? I think this is something they're going to really be looking closely at it.
Well, if you have a Vision Pro headset, you can go in and you can see demos of all the things you're talking about. KLM, you can see engines expand to look at parts. And what I think it's going to do is companies are either going to find their own people to develop what they need for that purpose, or it's going to be given to people to develop it for the company. But you're going to start seeing a lot of more training capabilities with it. You're going to see some sales capabilities with it. And there's one app that is kind of pushing the fact that it can be used for marketing. But you have to, somebody has to generate the device that's going to be looked at or marketed or whatever. I think, originally when I got one, I thought, I don't see how this connects to enterprise. But more and more folks in enterprise, I think, they're coming up with ideas to use it. What I've been surprised about is the social aspects of it, and sometime we'll talk about that. But it is really becoming a social device with people. And all the warnings were, you're going to sit in your living room, you're not going to talk to anybody. That's crazy. I sit in my living room and I talk to people all over the world and have those conversations with the headset on. So it's an interesting branch off of that. And but from enterprise, they're going to start using it as a on-demand sort of training headset for people who want training.
Absolutely. How about you, Ben?
There's a lot of products where the Pro in the name, it can be rather dubious. This is a lot like the Mac Pro. There are consumer uses if you're willing to pay the price, but primarily, at least as it is now, the Vision Pro does lend itself more to business uses than it does consumer uses.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Last word, Jeff, on this.
I have no doubt that there are a lot of businesses that are finding Vision Pro to be incredibly useful. However, keep in mind that that Apple was a little bit vague when they talked about companies buying Vision Pro. All it takes is a Fortune 500 company to buy a single Vision Pro to fit in with the statement that was made, and for it to be true. So I think there's the potential that people are making a leap here from companies are buying these to there are a lot of Vision Pros in these big enterprise operations. Maybe, but don't just assume that's the case.
That is true. So I definitely see it's going to be interesting, and that is for sure. So before we move on, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room and in touch with a friend ITWIOS at youtube.com/ITWIOS. I say to Cletus and to Webb and to Brian and any else folks out there chatting with us tonight. You can be in the live chat every time. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. So come join us if you have time the next time. But that's great to see folks in the chat talking to us. So let's go ahead and move on to GM. Really regret kicking Apple CarPlay off the dashboard. There was some very interesting articles, specifically in Bloomberg, talking about that uneasy relationship with Detroit and Cupertino, and is on display in a flawed rollout of the GM software. And I'm not going to read through the whole verbatim as far as what was talked about here, but one of the notable things is that there was somebody that was talking about that they owned a 2024 Chevy Blazer EV, and one of the nicest rides that they said Mike Waldron was quoted as saying as he's ever owned. Paid $62,000 for this back in November, and he loved the radiant red paint, the buttery acceleration, the deluxe interior, the slick displays stretched across the dash, but one thing was missing: Apple CarPlay. Because of course GM ditched support. That's those good old people here, and guess it turned out that there was larger problems on a trip he had, on Ohio for Thanksgiving. Ironically, Marty, that after a warning light randomly popped up on the main screen, the apps kept crashing before the display blacked out altogether. With the system bricked, no settings could be changed for the 600-mile drive back to Des Moines, Iowa. Not even Sirius XM channel, which was stuck on 1990s radio. That's all he was stuck. I could listen to all that drive away. And his 4-year-old
turn it off.
Apparently not.
Oh.
He says that it said it was his 4-year-old is now well versed in my music taste. So once he got home, he brought it to the dealership where the vehicle stayed there for over a month trying to diagnose the glitches. He wasn't alone. Numerous customers ran into major software problems and vehicle faults, forcing GM to ground the vehicle and halt all sales back in December. As weeks dragged on at the shop, and the service rep basically says if there was anything he could do that would make the situation right, it says, yeah, put CarPlay back into it. The guy laughed and said, the guy said, I have a feeling I'm going to start hearing a lot of that. And of course, it's not possible. So I think I'll boil down to this article, and most of what's been said is this GM, shame on you. I mean, why did you abandon this? You thought you were going to be able to just bring in all these other folks that were from other companies that had the experience with these systems, and then I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm going to start off with Ben because I know you have comments on this.
Honestly, there have been missteps in GM's GM's path over the years. We've had the Chevy Vega.
Oh my God! That's the past.
Yeah, whatever it was that the Fiero shared the platform with.
Yeah, that would do.
Yeah. This brings back the old adage, unsafe at any speeds, because they put a system in a car that was not ready for prime time because they wanted to control infotainment revenue.
Yep. We want control.
Yeah. I'm going to say something as the great nephew of a former Chevy dealer that I have never said before. Do not buy a GM car right now. They do not care about consumers. In fact, at this point, I think the board should give a lot of credence to relieving Mary Barra of her duties.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm thinking, but who knows? It's a big company. How about you, Jeff? Where do you think this is going to go?
It's not going to play out well. All right, here's the deal. Taking CarPlay out was a bad move because that's a very popular interface platform for smartphones and cars. And it is a selling point. That said, for a lot of people, it doesn't matter what that platform is. What matters is that their car fracking works. And I think ultimately the bigger problem for GM here is going to be that they released a product that is barely beta at best and is horribly flawed and is a security and safety risk for their customers. And they acted very irresponsibly by rolling this out when they did.
Yeah, and they want to sell it to the cops too. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to play out well.
Yeah. How about you, Marty?
I was late to the show with CarPlay. Everybody's talking about how great it was. And I bought a Subaru, and that wasn't necessarily built into it. I took one trip through New York. Car had problems, so I went to the Subaru dealer. They gave me another car, and I was using an Android phone at the time. That thing synced up like a beauty. And I'm like, whoa, this is pretty surprising to me. Came back, and since then, with various upgrades, maybe in the software, maybe the ease of connectivity, I'm now using CarPlay through Bluetooth with a device that you actually told me about, Dave, and been using it and absolutely love it. I use it on my car, and my wife's car is not equipped with a touchscreen. So I always don't want to have to drive my wife's car because I like the CarPlay setup so much in terms of maps and music and whatever else I want coming up with it. So it's just been about 8 months maybe that I've been tuned into CarPlay. I don't, and this is me, I'm naive. I don't understand why other companies can't just make this happen on multiple platforms. Other than what I hear, and I think I've heard this before when we talked about GM, is that companies are starting to do their own sort of software so they can control the money that happens with it and use it as a revenue source.
Yeah.
And I will say there's nothing technical holding GM back here. Android Automotive, which their infotainment system is based off of, is perfectly capable of interfacing with CarPlay.
Yeah, they just don't want them to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this comes from a market, the car market in general, where the engineers are historically incapable of creating user-friendly interfaces for anything.
Yep. For sure.
It's the question I ask now when I have to rent a car.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
I do.
it's like the model, what's the model I got? CarPlay? Nope. Okay, give me something different.
Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the event that's coming up this coming Tuesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time, and that's 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern time. the Let It Loose event, and where the panel here thinks Apple's going to announce. I think it's pretty obvious. It's an iPad and iPads, and we did talk a little bit about it last week, and we're getting right near a couple days before the event here, and I wanted to just kind of review this a little more here to see if anything has changed. And I bet you weren't here last week, so I wanted to start with you. Have you have some predictions of what you think is going to be announced during the event on Tuesday?
I think there will be an iPad mini. And
do.
the iPads announced will have screens. I mean, other than that, honestly, the rumor mill is going so many different ways. There might be micro LED, there might be dual panel LED. There could be a iPad Air 12.9 inch, which is pretty much the M2 Pro under a different name. At this point, who knows? We're just going to get iPads, and we're probably going to get a third generation pencil.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the pencil is a given, just based on what the logo was sent for the event invitation. So, Marty, what do you think? I know you're itching to get an iPad now that you've sold them all, and you're waiting.
Yeah, I've got
to get one.
I've got my stack of Apple cards sitting here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. running a meeting all day. So I can't even pretend like I'm interested. Well, I can't even pretend like I'm interested in the meeting. I have to run the meeting, so I have to be interested in the meeting. Here's my plan. I used to have 4 or 5 different iPads, sold them all. I've been waiting for this launch event to occur. I'm going to buy whatever the top line is, and outfit it that way, and not going to try any other form factor than that, and see if I can finally use those interchangeably the best I can with my MacBooks and travel and such. So that's my plan. I think, unlike Ben, I love the rumors. I mean, I enjoy them. For me, it's gambling without having to put any money down until they finally announce it.
Like
It's
that.
entertainment for me. It's like professional wrestling or wrestling. I like the chatter about it, but my goal is just to get the top notch that I can get, and hopefully get it soon before there's back orders.
And how about you, Jeff? I know you're anxious to hear about this Apple Pencil, but
I
what do you
am.
do you agree with Ben on the mini? You think they're gonna announce the mini?
I think it would be fun if they announced a mini. And I'm saying that as someone who bought a mini just a few months ago. I'd be okay with Apple making mine out of date that quickly. Just because there would be cool new features. My expectation is that Apple is going to be showing the iPad as a content creation tool. They're really going to focus on that with the announcement. So the new Apple Pencil will fit into that. I think that we'll probably see a couple announcements from or demos from companies that are already making content creation software for the iPad. And yeah, I think that'll be a big push today. And then from the more technical side, we'll get to see that push for the iPad at WWDC.
Yeah. Now, I think the most intriguing thing is the fact is, are they going to release it with an M4 processor in an iPad way before a Mac? It does seem odd that they would be doing something like this, but with the timing, it's less than a month, just about a month till WWDC. Would they do something like that with an iPad? I don't know. I'm skeptical, but others, all the other articles I read, that's what I quoted from Macworld. Seems to think it's like a logical thing that could happen. Something you wanted to see, Jeff? You think that M4 is going to be the processor in the pros?
It could be. All right, here's the deal. When we're talking about the M4, everyone looks at the M series processors as desktop and laptop computer processors that also end up in iPads. And maybe what we should be doing is looking at what Apple's long-term roadmap is for each generation of the M series processor. So maybe the M4 will roll out next week in a new iPad, but it will be like the M4 Ultra Mobile,
Yeah, maybe.
and then we'll have a version of the M4 that's geared towards the Pro machines or the laptops or the iMacs or whatever. But I could totally see Apple doing something where the M4 is introduced first as this power friendly, like energy friendly, high powered processor for ultra mobile devices like tablets.
Yeah. So it's what about you, Marty? What do you think on the M4? Is
Yeah,
it gonna
well,
happen?
yeah, I thought it would, I read an article a couple of days ago that said, oh, maybe it's going to happen. Then I read an article that said, no, it's not going to happen. And then I just read one today that came out. I can't remember where it was from, but it said, here are 4 reasons why it would make sense.
Yeah, this is the
And,
one I got quoted in Mac.
yeah, one of the reasons was we get the hardware out, we get the technology out before WWDC, so developers can kind of look at it and see what it's like. Another is sagging iPad sales, so we're just going to give you a new iPad with a better screen. It's got to be something else to hook
OLED.
you in. Probably at the top, probably at the top line. It probably won't be at the Air or won't be. I mean, this is where the talk is going, and I think it would be exciting to put the M4 out. Right now, all of the M's are kind of getting blurry with me because they're happening so quick, and it's almost, to me, kind of cheapens the release. So unless they say something about the M4 is now tied into our AI system, which is capable of doing this and that, then I think that would be another reason to try and pull it in as a new processor and announce it with the pads. We'll see what they give us. If the iPads are always going to be the also ran in how chips get played out, new chips get played out, well, we'll find that out on a Tuesday.
Absolutely. Last word on this, Ben.
I think it kind of depends on what the M4 is. What I'm wondering is what we hear as the M4 is basically like an M3 Plus, where it's very similar to the M3, but has essentially additional N cores, where the Macs wouldn't necessarily need that the same way an iPad would. Either way, it'll be interesting to find out next week.
Yeah, for sure. Some comments in the chat here, youtube.com/ITWIOS. Web Bixby says he wants a new iPad with a magic keyboard and pencil. Well, you might get your wish there. And Cletus and Webb also mentions that his MacBook can run iOS apps. Yeah, it can, but sometimes developers don't allow it. But so it all depends on the app, of course. Brian and Cletus all have made some comments as well. But yeah, there's some good ideas here, and we'll see what happens. I guess we could just wait for this coming Tuesday. Like I said, it's a 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. So there's to be a video recorded event, and it's be interesting. I think you made the comment, Jeff, that the calendar entry says it's up to 2 hours. So I don't know if I can get 2 hours out of an iPad unless they're talking about some other things besides that.
Well, maybe they'll throw in an M4 Mac to go with it. Who knows?
Who knows? This is interesting to see if that could stay under wraps, because as like you said, you love the rumors, Marty, and it's hard to keep those from coming out. That's for sure.
I will be running this meeting and still having some chat stream going on the side to tell me what's coming out.
You got to
Um,
see the little feeds
and-
going while
And
it
then
goes
the
by.
lunch break happens and I'll run off to my room and try and do something. We'll see.
And watch it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the news this week. And I have a perfect story for Jeff. The HomePod. Siri on the HomePod seems to have forgotten how to tell time or give time for that matter. And this actually was posted today as we record this. It seems that at some point in the last 24 hours, Siri on the HomePod is actually has actually not been able to have forgotten how to relay the time. When you ask S Lady what time is it, Siri is unable to answer and directs users to the iPhone. I found some webs for results. You could show them here, and then you ask it again on your iPhone, and Siri's full response with the time question. Maybe it's a bug, or are we surprised? And apparently there was an update later saying Apple had seemed to have fixed the issue somewhat. Asking what time it is provides the time, but Siri is still not able to give the time you asked. What is the time, or can you tell me the time? I'm curious to ask that, but what do you think, Jeff?
Okay. First, I am so proud of you for knowing you were picking a story like this specifically to trigger me. Well done. You have learned so well, my Padawan.
I have learned. I've been doing it too long with you, Jeff.
I mean, what the hell? How can this be a thing? I have a feeling that Apple has been in the process of rolling out updates and feature enhancements for the S Lady that we will learn more about at the keynote event next week. And as part of that process, we're experiencing problems, the transient issues like this one, the HomePod not being able to tell time. Now, my cat, my office manager, she got quite the earful earlier today when I went on and on about the obvious brain damage that my HomePods are suffering from. I haven't checked lately to see if my HomePod can tell me what time it is. The irony for me is when I get up in the morning, even though I know what time it is, before I climb out of bed, I say, "Hey, S Lady, what time is it?" Just to make sure that my alarms went off at the right time and all that. And when you're laying in bed and your HomePod tells you it found some results and you can check on your iPhone, that's not a good way to start the day, especially when you get triggered about HomePod and S Lady issues like I do.
Go check with your iPhone. I just checked. I muted. I didn't want to interrupt you while you're providing your rant, so it did work. It did work.
All right, I'm going to mute and I'll check mine.
All right, you guys have any other thoughts on this?
Well, the only thought I have is now I have this great idea. I'm going to write an article just to punk Jeff because I know where all his soft spots are now.
Yeah,
so
no,
let's
you're
mock
learning.
up an article just to get his reaction on it on some show.
I am looking forward to it. It'll be cathartic for me. And then at the end of it, you'll explain to me exactly what you did. And I'll rant a little bit more, probably say something that has to be edited. But I will have the most profound respect for you for pulling it off.
To back to the question, I have lost complete faith in S Lady. Every time I want an answer, she tells me to go to my phone, which to me defeats the purpose. And half the time she doesn't know what I'm asking her anyways. So then it's like, oh hell, where's the Google device? Because I get better responses from that. And that's so every time we hear another new software that's coming out or a new advancement with Apple, everybody says, well, this is really going to improve Siri.
It hasn't.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. This is how dysfunctional, abusive relationships work.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Go ahead and add last word on this, Ben.
If honestly, if this isn't upgrading the back end,
You face palmed yourself.
yeah, that's my relationship with S Lady. It's, hey, maybe it'll work. They got to fix it, and they got to fix it with LLMs.
Yeah, they do. And maybe we'll hear something on Tuesday. Who knows? Up for or in WWDC for sure. Cleus in the chat says, "Ask us, lady, when Mother's Day is." I just checked that. It seemed to be okay, but then he said I flipped out for 10 seconds. So I don't know where that goes.
I'm
but
giving I'm giving Apple the opportunity to build me up and disappoint me horribly come Tuesday.
Yeah.
With the whole S Lady thing.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on here. Couple quick stories here. Actually, this is a great story here. This is Apple Watch. Apple Watch has its AFib history feature has qualified by the FDA to evaluate medical devices. Apple's arterial fibrillation AFib history feature on the Apple Watch has been qualified under the Medical Device Development Tools, or the MDDT program, the first digital health technology feature of its kind to do so. Since 2022, Apple has supported this AFib history, which allows users to be diagnosed with AFib to view an estimate of how frequent their heart is at this type of irregular rhythm. The feature analyzes pulse rate data collected by photosynthemography, PPD, and the sensors. It works amazingly. And this, according to the FDA, this is like I said, it was the first device to qualify for this, and it's designed to be used in a biomarker test to help evaluate estimates, and designed to be used throughout and it was during the clinical study. So this is pretty exciting to see this, the Apple Watch becoming something like this. So what do you think, Marty?
Every time I want to buy a new Apple Watch, which is every time a new one comes out, having a series of aging disorders that I have and some background with that, it's like, but hon, it's got this new sensor that will help keep me alive, and it works. So bring it on. Now that it's qualified by the FDA, I've just got more evidence to get a new one the next time it rolls out.
You got one of those wives that say, "Stop buying stuff."
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
I think this is bigger news than a lot of people realize. Getting a qualification like this through the FDA is a big thing, and it opens up a lot of potential partnerships and revenue generating paths for Apple, because now Apple Watch becomes even more useful in clinical settings. So yeah, I'm glad to see this, and it fits in nicely with something that Tim Cook said a few years ago, which is that that Apple is very focused on improving our health and well-being with their products.
Absolutely.
Are we going to get a blood sugar sensor, Jeff? Do you think that's runaway?
I think it's coming, but my Jedi instincts are telling me that the technology isn't ready yet. But once that's really nailed down, then we will get non-invasive blood glucose testing on the Apple Watch, either built into the watch directly or as a watch accessory.
Yeah, Apple looks closely at these monitoring type devices. I use the Dexcom, the G7, and it's a pretty amazing device. But it is a little bit intrusive because you have to actually pop it on your arm, and it sits on your arm for 10 days, and it goes in a little layer of your skin. So, but it is pretty impressive to be able to know all the time without having to have to prick that finger to check every time. Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping just like Ben. What do you think, Ben? What's your last word?
Honestly, this is primarily a medical device for me now, medical and fitness.
Right.
The more things it can do that are medically certified, the better the Apple Watch is for me.
For sure. A couple more quick stories before we get close to wrapping up here. The physical Apple cards are going to be expiring soon. They're going to be shipping out new replacements. Apple has informed some of the early Apple Card customers, that's me, I haven't gotten a notice yet, but I think it's going to happen, that their physical titanium cards are set to expire this summer, with replacements to be sent to the near future. Customers who had signed up for the Apple Card in August of 2019, I signed up right when it came out. When the Apple Card was launched, we'll be receiving the notice. Probably haven't, they missed me yet, or maybe it hasn't come out just yet. It appears that the physical card is designed to only last for 5 years before a replacement is sent out. Most of the Apple Card's functionality is digital, with options for rotating security codes and credit card numbers for online purchases, but there is a number associated with the physical card that is used for in-person transactions. Credit card companies add expiration dates to the physical cards for fraud prevention purposes, so they have to introduce new technologies. And they just went through and talked about that it's going to be happening. I can't believe it's been 5 years since that came out.
Yeah, my card expires next year, and honestly, I
Mine in July,
assumed
so.
that expiration was like a software expiration.
Me too. I thought so too.
Mhm.
And then when the expiration date rolls around, then it updates and the expiration date changes. But physically changing the card, that's
Yeah.
kind of surprising to me. I did not expect that
guess
to be a thing.
It must be it's part of the requirements of credit cards. So
That's
you have
wasteful.
you have one, Marty. I assume you use it.
Yeah, and I saw this article. I'm like, oh, I thought I was an early adopter, but my expiration date is 2027.
Oh.
And when I first got it, it was like, look at this new Apple Card. I sharpened
Oh, I
one
did
edge
too.
and I cut my steaks with it.
I always drop it on the table so you hear it. Cling, 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 cling.
Yeah. But and it's got some nicks and chips in it, but I remember having to interface with Goldman Sachs around some report or some warning that I had. And I don't know if they then reset the clock on it when they reset the card.
Yeah, maybe.
But I thought I was earlier in than would be 2022. So yeah, I'm sure I was in earlier than that. So I'm jealous. You guys are going to get nice new cards.
Yeah, well, Ben, I don't think you have an Apple Card, right?
Nope.
So, unless you have any other comments on this, we'll go ahead and move on.
Well, Ben, once this first round of cards start expiring, I bet you can pick one up cheap. It won't work, but you can say you have one.
I've got one. They sent me a second card. I opened an account and I had to close it because it was the wrong email address. So I got one that's never been used and it's no longer not valid. It's sitting on my desk. So I got that one as a souvenir too. So a couple more stories here. We're gonna also talk about the side loading of iPadOS must happen in the EU. It's going to happen this fall. The EU mandated these changes this fall. I know we're getting tired of hearing about all the EU stuff because it doesn't affect us in the United States here, but we know that whole thing happened in March of this year where they released 17.4 and the European Union is requiring to allow you to be able to do side loading. Now Apple has 6 months to ensure that's full compliance of iPadOS devices as well, per that DMA obligation. And no surprise here that they have to get this compliant. I don't think there's much else we can say about this. We've beaten this topic to death. Unless you guys have any comments about this.
Good.
The two other things here I want to mention real quick. This story was interesting. This was a 9to5 Mac. Here's how much Google paid Apple to have Safari's default search engine in 2022. It's no secret that Google's paid Apple a lot of money by being the default search engine for Safari web browser and iOS and macOS. In 2021, they paid $15 billion to keep Google as the default search engine on Apple platforms. Now it's revealed that it went up $5 billion, $20 billion in 2022. So Again, and also Apple's being rumored to actually be in talks with Google to use the Gemini AI in the iOS 18. So you got some of those rumors there too. And we really haven't dabbled in much rumors on iOS 18 because I want to wait until WWDC. But yeah, are you guys surprised at all that Apple's receiving a nice big hefty check from Google for default search engine?
Not with
So-
what we heard a couple months back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. For a lot of people, it could be a surprise to see just how much money Google makes from being the default search engine. They wouldn't pay Apple $20 billion a year for this if they weren't making a lot more than $20 billion a year off of us.
Yep.
And they're making it with our data.
Yep. I feel so used.
I do. Last of the stories here is any of you guys experienced this mysterious Apple ID password reset that happened? There was a lockout. There was signing in again, and there was Apple's lack of response. And had to actually go in and sign back in and figure out why did it lock you out. It's an article from the Integro, the Mac Security blog, and going through the whole weird process. I know our friend Dr. Ock, I saw him post on social media that he was traveling when it happened, and he was 5,000 miles away from home. And boy, it was quite a nightmare for him not being at home and getting your devices signed back in, and may not have the proper ways of authenticating back into the account. And I mean, kind of shame on Apple for this to happen. And they never really had any response, did they? Jeff, did you hear anything about this?
I never heard anything from Apple. I mean, having a problem like this happen, yes, that's a major pain in the butt. However, Apple failing to even acknowledge that there's an issue, talk about it in any way, that is unacceptable. Just full stop, unacceptable. I'm
Yep,
glad
I
that I
agree.
did not have this problem, especially since I have so many app-specific passwords set up in iCloud, and resetting your password wipes those out. You have to start those over. The whole thing would just be a major headache.
Big mess.
And I feel bad for everyone that had to deal with this.
Did you guys have a problem? No.
Yeah, I did. So Jeff, feel bad for me.
I do. I feel bad
I
for
feel
you.
bad for you.
I don't, but I have to admit, I thought it was, well, this is my time. Apple's trying to tell me something. I don't change my password enough on the device and update my password. So it at least forced me to do that. That's the only silver lining that I find on that cloud. But it was, it was every device that I have. And I've got quite a few devices, and then having to do password authentication and coming up with particular Apple passwords to be able to do. It was a pain in the butt that lasted a couple of days, but I'm all caught up. Having still some catch up with my messages on my devices, so my daughter's getting 2 messages from me or something, so we're still working that out. And it's probably because I also wound up resetting some aspects of the device. So yeah, but it's karma as far as I'm concerned in terms of not having taken that effort deliberately enough in my life to protect my own security.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on this? We'll go ahead and go to the announcements here. First announcement is I keep talking about it. I keep wanting to make sure everybody knows about it. Macstock 8 is coming. It's July 12th, 13th, and 14th in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It's Macstock 8 called Level Up, and you want to come to this session. I'm telling you, it's an absolute blast. You're going to be able to see and meet people, meet us, Jeff, myself, and Marty. He's going to have not only a workshop. He's also he's going to be speaking at during the speaker events as well. So it is just going to be so fun, and a lot of great things to talk about with Apple and hanging out with all of us here. So it's going to I definitely highly recommend this. You guys looking forward to this? I know this will be this is your second time now, Marty, speaking, or is it third? You're muted.
This will be my second time speaking, and I'm enjoying it. The first time I was just terrified.
You did great.
And
You did fantastic.
You
yeah,
knocked it out of the park.
then I realized, hey, I'm actually am a teacher for a living, so I guess I could
I was gonna
probably
say.
handle this group.
That's-
But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I would also say, because when I saw this on the agenda, I went and looked at the website again, and now some of the topics are in there, and it's even makes it even more exciting because there are some topics that are already announced that are like these are things I want to stick around and see. Not just because of the people who are giving them, but the content
Oh yeah.
that
He
I
just
think I'm going to
updated-
get from it. Yeah.
He updated the speaker list, and yeah, that I mean, let's see, did he post the? I gave him mine. No, you can't, like, other than the pictures, it's not having what they're speaking about yet. But there's going to be some great topics. I think we're all finalizing what we're talking about. I think you pretty much know what you're talking about, Marty.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I are still kind of working through our final decisions.
My stuff is already settled. I just need to get descriptions to Mike.
So I just submitted my description, so but I'm not going to spoil it yet. We're going to wait to, because we'll all be on Mac Voices and talk to Chuck Joyner about what we're going to be talking about. So, and I'm hoping Benny's going to make it this year. We really would love to have you, and it's definitely worth it. Go the full route. I mean, it's not that expensive if you think about it. It's a weekend pass, $399 with the workshops. This is the first time ever we're doing these workshops for the 12th. And like I said, Marty's going to be one of them. I know Allison Sheridan's doing workshops, and I think Mike Schmidt was the other one doing workshops on Friday. So it's an all access pass. You definitely want to come check those workshops out on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's the normal, regular thing we've been doing for all these years. MacStock 8. This is the 8th of the in-person events. We missed a few obviously from the pandemic years. I've spoken at every single one, and I'm so excited about that and continue on here. So, and you'll get a digital pass afterwards, be able to watch all this stuff. You get a free t-shirt, there's lunch, there's a film festival where we'll be doing so much stuff. So go and check it out. MacStockConferenceandExpo.com, and come see us. We're going to have an absolute blast. Another announcement I wanted to make here, and I made it last week, but now Marty's here. I wanted you to tell us about your awesome brand new podcast, Vision Profiles. I was so excited to hear about this. I know you were just interviewed on with Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices with Eric Bowman, and yeah. This is exciting. I'm really loving this. Yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
We started getting called the Vision Pro experts only because we actually own a Vision Pro, not because we're experts. So. Mike at MacStock was talking about bring your new ideas, share your new ideas, or, talk about the projects you're working on. And I thought, I need another project. And so I got with Eric and decided to do a podcast, 30 minutes on Vision Pro, and we call it Vision Profiles. I've kind of delved into the deep, dark inner world of Vision Pro and have met a lot of people in there that I'm hoping to bring on as guests as we talk about the couple of stories that week and talk about apps that we've run into. And then if they're developers, we're going to bring them in to talk about their app and I like their app. But we're trying to keep it in 30 minutes to make it a nice little digestible chunk that you can listen to. It's not just for Vision Pro folks. I think if you're interested in tech, even if you don't have a Vision Pro, you'll be interested in kind of the conversation that we're having. So first show was out. It was just us talking about our experience. The second show, we started to develop a format. We're going to record the third show on Monday. We're doing it every Monday.
You're just
It's visionprofiles.info. If you want to go to the beginning of the website and get the links there, but you can search Vision Profiles as the podcast name, and you'll be connected to us.
Got the link in the show notes. So go check his great new podcast out. I'm super stoked and excited for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun joining us in this thing called a podcast. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. This was a great show. Thank you so much for all you being here. And we want to just, I'm going to have to call it a day for this episode. So that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we're live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Shout out to Webb and to Brian and to Cletus and any of the others that were in the chat room this week. You can chat with us live during that time. That's our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. We're all loaded up on the podcasts app now, which is now built into YouTube, into YouTube Music, so you can check that out too, be able to listen to the podcast from there as well. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts with transcripts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 and Mastodon.cloud. Marty Jensius, thank you so much for being here. You already told us where you can find your podcasts. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Jensius, Jencius, at mastodon.social. Also on the Tech Savvy Professor podcast, Circular Firing Squad podcast, and the most exciting project I've got going right now, Vision Profiles podcast.
Yep. Got all those links in your bio in the show notes, so check him out. And Ben Rathick, so glad you made it back this week after your film festivals, and always love having you here. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Rathig on the social media. You can also find me every Tuesday on Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner. And for at least the next couple episodes, you can find me on the Big and Mac shows on the British Tech Network.
Great. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gammon. Always a pleasure having you here. Where can people find you?
I have no online presence.
Yeah.
Kidding. All right. Well, first, Dave, it's always a pleasure to get to hang out with you. So thank you for letting me continue to show up for the show. All right. So social media, I'm Jay Gammett, pretty much everywhere. I'm active right now on Mastodon and Instagram and Threads. Then for shows that I'm on, Tuesdays, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live. Here on Thursdays on Dave's In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, Thursdays on The Big Show, Fridays on The Mac Show. And Brian Chaffin and I, we also do The Context Machine.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate it. And thank you for listening and watching and being in the chat room and hanging out here, listening to our show. We always have a great time doing it, and we're going to be back next week to find out what was announced and tell you all about it next Thursday. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Oh my God, it didn't crash. It worked.
Awesome.
That was what it was. Holy crap. It was completely flawless. I didn't even have to do any of my earbuds or nothing. Wow.
Jeff, I gotta tell you, I'm trying to quickly curate my talking heads list and realize that I had a bunch of stuff mixed in. So I ordered it, and now I can't, I did it in an alphabetical and I can't reorder it in a way that's meaningful. But then there's the Catherine wheel. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had that mixed in there too, but I thought that's kind of cheating. Although, yeah, anyway, I'm working on it.
I'm looking forward to it. And even if it's something where we get to experience it at max stock or later, whenever. It's
about 6 hours of music.
Oh, great. So we have a soundtrack. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it whenever, no pressure.
I will bring in some Tom Tom Club and some Jerry Harrison stuff, and
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to redo my friends in Apple Music now because since I changed Apple IDs, it's different now. I had all those people in my old ID. I had to do it. I didn't want to lose my Mac.com account, and I talked about this, Marty, but you may not know I had an old account with Gmail, and I wanted to all be on one account. It's hard to having a purchase
Right.
account and a primary account. So I bit the bullet, and it's a pain in the butt because every app I have downloaded, I have to offload it and go download it again.
Yeah, it sucks.
I'm almost there, but it'll be worth it once I'm done. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here
Thank you.
on the chat tonight on the YouTube channel. I'm going to say goodbye to the live stream for now, and have a great evening. Thank you, everybody.